I pulled into the hospital parking lot at 11 p.m., the rain hammering against my windshield. I'd driven 3 hours from Portland to surprise Lisa with the baby clothes I'd been collecting. Soft onesies, tiny socks, things a retired engineer with too much time learns to shop for. The twins were 4 months old now, and I hadn't seen them in 2 weeks. Derek kept making excuses about Lisa being too tired for visitors. I spotted her car in the far corner, under a broken streetlight. Something felt wrong immediately. The windows were fogged up, and I could see the silhouette of someone sitting in the driver's seat, completely still. I parked next to her and stepped out into the rain. As I got closer, my stomach dropped. Lisa was asleep, passed out, in the front seat, her coat pulled tight around her. In the back, through the steamed glass, I could see 2 car seats. I tapped on the window. "Lisa? Sweetheart?" She jerked awake, eyes wild with panic. When she saw it was me, something in her face crumbled. She unlocked the door with shaking hands. "Dad?" Her voice was hoarse. "What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here? Lisa, what are you doing here? Why are you sleeping in your car at the hospital?" I looked past her at the twins, both somehow still asleep in their carriers. "Where's Derek? Where's the condo?" She started crying, not the gentle tears of relief, but the kind of sobbing that comes from someone who's been holding it together for too long. "Dad, I don't have the condo anymore." "What do you mean you don't have it? I wired $150,000 for that down payment. It's in your name." "It was in my name." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Derek, he refinanced it 3 months ago, forged my signature. He said since it was his income that qualified us for the mortgage, it should be in his name only. Then 2 weeks ago he changed the locks. Said I had no right to be there." I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. "You what?" "His mother was there too, Patricia. She told me I was an unfit mother because of my anxiety, that the twins would be better off without me. Derek said..." She choked on the words. "He said you're just a poor immigrant who barely speaks English, that you'd never be able to fight them in court." I looked at my daughter. My brilliant daughter who'd put herself through nursing school, who'd worked double shifts during the pandemic, sitting in a cold car with her 4-month-old babies because her husband had stolen the home I'd bought for her. "Get out of the car," I said quietly. "Dad, Get out of the car, Lisa. Get the twins. You're coming with me right now." "But I have nowhere to go. Derek has the condo, and I can't afford..." "You're coming to my apartment. Tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." I opened the back door and started unbuckling the first car seat. Baby Emma stirred but didn't wake. Her twin brother, Noah, was wheezing slightly in his sleep. His asthma had been getting worse, Lisa had mentioned on the phone last week. She climbed out slowly, like someone in a dream. "Dad, your apartment is tiny. There's barely room for you, let alone 3 more people." "We'll make room." I lifted Emma's carrier and looked at my daughter over the roof of the car. "He's not going to get away with this, Lisa. I promise you that." The drive back to Portland was silent except for Noah's occasional cough. Lisa stared out the window, her hands twisted in her lap. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, at the dark circles under her eyes, at how thin she'd gotten. My apartment was small, a 1-bedroom in a quiet building where most of my neighbors were other retirees. I'd moved here after Lisa's mother died 5 years ago, downsizing because I didn't need much. Just enough space for me and my memories. I gave Lisa my bedroom. She tried to protest, but I wouldn't hear it. I set up the twins' carriers in there too, then made myself a bed on the couch. By the time I'd brought up the last load from her car, 3 garbage bags of clothes, a diaper bag, and a cardboard box of papers she'd managed to grab. Lisa had already fallen asleep with both babies on the bed, all 3 of them still fully clothed. I stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching them. My daughter, my grandchildren, homeless because of greed. I closed the door quietly and went to my desk. I pulled out an old accordion folder, the one where I kept every important document from the last 10 years. Bank statements, wire transfer receipts, emails. I'd been an engineer for 37 years before retiring. I knew how to document things. I knew how to build a case. I found what I was looking for. The email exchange with Derek from 3 years ago, when he and Lisa were looking for a condo. "Thanks for offering to help with the down payment, Robert," he'd written.
"This is a loan, right? We'll pay you back once my commission checks start getting bigger. Really appreciate you believing in us." A loan. He'd called it a loan. In writing. I kept digging. The wire transfer receipt showing $150,000 sent to Derek Morrison and Lisa Chen Morrison for down payment 2847 Bellevue Avenue. The text message from Derek after closing. "We got the keys." "Thanks again, Dad. This changes everything for us." Dad. He'd called me Dad. I worked through the night, creating a timeline, organizing documents, taking notes. At some point I heard Noah crying and Lisa's soft voice soothing him. The sound of my daughter being a mother, a good mother, despite what Derek and his horrible mother had said about her. When the sun came up, I had a plan. I waited until Lisa woke up around 8 a.m. She looked surprised to see me still awake, surrounded by papers. "Dad, did you sleep at all?" "I'll sleep later. Coffee?" I poured her a cup before she could answer. "We need to talk about what happens next."
She sank into the chair across from me, both babies still asleep in the bedroom. "There's nothing to do. Derek has the condo. He has a lawyer. His uncle is a real estate attorney. I don't have money for a lawyer. I don't even have money for rent." "You have me," I said. "And you have the truth. And you have evidence." I slid the folder across the table. She opened it slowly, her eyes scanning the documents. "I don't understand. What is all this?" "Proof that I paid for that condo. Proof that Derek acknowledged it was a loan, not a gift. Proof that the property belongs to you." "But he forged my signature on the refinance papers. The title is in his name now." "Then we prove the forgery. We prove fraud. We get that condo back, Lisa. And we make sure Derek never gets to do this to anyone else." She looked up at me, something like hope flickering in her exhausted eyes. "How?" "First, we find you a lawyer. A good one.
Then we file for emergency custody, because right now Derek has no legal right to keep you from your children. Then we go after him for fraud, for forgery, and for every single cent he owes you." "Dad, I can't afford—" "You don't need to afford anything. I have savings. I have time. And I have 37 years of experience documenting technical problems and finding solutions." I reached across and took her hand. "You're my daughter. I'll fight until my last breath." She started crying again. But this time it was different. This time there was something besides despair in her tears. Finding a lawyer wasn't easy. The first 3 we contacted wanted retainers we couldn't afford. The 4th said she didn't take family cases. The 5th listened to our story for 10 minutes, then quoted us $15,000 just to get started. I was ready to pay it. I'd sell my car if I had to. But Lisa stopped me. "Dad, no. That's your savings. Your retirement." "And what good is retirement if my daughter is sleeping in a car?" We were sitting in my apartment, both twins fussing on a blanket between us. It had been 3 days since I'd found Lisa in the hospital parking lot. Derek had called twice, both times to demand she return his children. She hadn't answered. That's when my neighbor, Mrs. Kim, knocked on the door. She was a tiny woman in her 70s, originally from Korea, who'd lived in the building longer than anyone else. "Robert," she said, holding a container of food. "You have babies now. I hear them crying. I bring soup." I tried to explain the situation, and somehow it all poured out. The stolen condo, the forgery, the desperate search for a lawyer. Mrs. Kim listened carefully, then patted my arm. "My daughter is lawyer. Family law. She help you." That's how we met Catherine Kim, 38, sharp as a knife, and the daughter of my upstairs neighbor. She came to my apartment that evening, listened to our story, reviewed all my documents, and then did something I didn't expect. She smiled. "This is good," Catherine said, tapping the folder. "This is very, very good. Your father-in-law is thorough, Lisa. Derek made a lot of mistakes, but Robert didn't. We can win this." "But the retainer," Lisa started. "Pro bono," Catherine interrupted. "My mother says you're good people, and honestly, I hate cases like this. Greedy spouses who think they can steal from their in-laws because what's the old immigrant going to do about it? I want to bury this guy." Lisa burst into tears for what felt like the 100th time that week. But Catherine just handed her a tissue and pulled out a legal pad. "Here's what we're going to do," she said. "First, emergency custody hearing. The twins are currently with their mother, who has stable housing," she gestured around my small apartment, "and Derek's place is legally obtained through fraud.
No judge will force you to hand over babies to a man living in a stolen house."
"He'll fight it," Lisa said quietly. "His mother will help him. She has money. Let them fight. Second, we file a civil suit against Derek for fraud and forgery. We have your father's wire transfer showing he paid the down payment. We have Derek's email calling it a loan. We have the timeline of events. Third, we request a forensic examination of the refinance documents. If Derek forged your signature, we'll prove it." "What if we can't prove it?" I asked. Catherine smiled again, and this time it looked dangerous. "Robert, I've been doing this for 10 years. Forgers always make mistakes. Always. And even if somehow the signature looks perfect, we'll prove you never consented, never knew about the refinance, and that Derek committed fraud by excluding you from a major financial decision about jointly owned property."
She left us with a stack of paperwork to fill out and a court date set for the following week, emergency custody hearing. I spent the next 5 days taking care of the twins while Lisa worked on the legal documents. She'd taken a leave of absence from the hospital, but we both knew she'd need to go back soon. Money was tight. Noah's asthma got worse. We took him to the ER one night, and the doctor asked about his living situation, his stress levels. "Environmental factors can trigger asthma," the doctor said, looking at Lisa with concern. "Has anything changed recently?" Lisa told him, not everything, but enough. The doctor's expression hardened. "I'll make a note in his chart that stable housing is medically necessary for this child. You can use that in court if you need to." Another piece of evidence, another brick in the wall we were building. The day of the custody hearing arrived. Catherine had prepared us, but I was still nervous. Derek would be there. His mother would be there. I'd never met Patricia Morrison, but from everything Lisa had told me, she was the real villain in this story, the one who'd convinced Derek that my daughter was disposable. The courthouse was downtown, in a building that smelled like old wood and anxiety. We arrived early. Catherine met us in the hallway, looking confident in a navy suit. "Remember," she said to Lisa, "you're the mother. You've been caring for the twins. Derek hasn't even seen them since he kicked you out. The burden of proof is on him to show why they shouldn't be with you." Then Derek walked in, and I saw him for the first time since Lisa had married him 4 years ago. He'd gained weight, looked prosperous in an expensive suit. Behind him was a woman who could only be Patricia, blonde, perfectly made up, radiating the kind of confidence that comes from never having been told no. Derek saw Lisa and actually smirked.
Finally decided to come back home, honey? You can return the babies to me now, and we'll forget this whole dramatic episode. Lisa's hand tightened on my arm, but Catherine stepped forward. "Mr. Morrison, I'd appreciate if you didn't speak to my client outside of the courtroom. Any communication should go through me."
Patricia looked Catherine up and down.
"And you are?"
"Lisa's attorney."
"How nice."
Patricia's smile was ice. Did Robert actually find money for a lawyer? How unexpected. Though I suppose everyone deserves representation, even immigrants who don't understand how American law works. I felt my daughter stiffen beside me, but before I could respond, Catherine laughed. Actually laughed. "Mrs. Morrison, I was born in Seoul and came here when I was 3. I'm intimately familiar with how American law works. I'm also intimately familiar with fraud, forgery, and financial elder abuse. Shall we go inside?" The hearing lasted 2 hours. David's lawyer, his uncle, Richard Morrison, tried to paint Lisa as an unfit mother. "My client has concerns about Ms. Chen Morrison's mental health. She has documented anxiety disorder. She's been unable to maintain stable employment. She's currently living in her father's 1-bedroom apartment with no income and no prospects." Catherine stood up. "Your Honor, my client has anxiety disorder, yes. Anxiety that worsened significantly after months of psychological and financial abuse from Mr. Morrison and his mother. She's living in her father's apartment because Mr. Morrison illegally evicted her from the condo her father purchased. And she has been maintaining employment as a registered nurse until she was forced to take leave to care for her children. Children that Mr. Morrison has not even attempted to see since evicting their mother." "I changed the locks for security reasons," Derek said smoothly. "Lisa was acting erratically. I was concerned for the twins' safety."
"Is that why you told your neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, that the twins will forget their mother in a month?"
Catherine pulled out a document. "I have a signed affidavit from your neighbor. Would you like me to read it to the court?" Derek's face went red. His uncle jumped in. "Your Honor, that's hearsay." "It's a sworn affidavit from a witness to Mr. Morrison's state of mind," Catherine interrupted. "I have 3 more, if you'd like to see them. Neighbors who heard Mr. Morrison and his mother discussing their plan to exclude Lisa from the twins' lives. Neighbors who heard Mrs. Morrison say, and I quote, 'She's unfit, her anxiety makes her dangerous, will get full custody, and the old man will die soon enough.'" The judge, an older woman named Martinez, looked up sharply. "Mrs. Morrison, are you in this courtroom?" Patricia stood up, all innocence. "I'm here to support my son, Your Honor. These accusations are completely false." "We'll see about that. Continue, Ms. Kim."
Catherine presented medical records showing Noah's asthma attacks had increased since the eviction. She presented Lisa's work history, 5 years as a nurse, excellent reviews, no disciplinary actions. She presented photos of my apartment, small but clean, with a corner set up for the twins. Then she presented my documents, the wire transfer, Derek's email, the timeline of events. "Your Honor,
This isn't actually a custody case, Catherine said. This is a case of a man trying to steal his father-in-law's $150,000 investment and eliminate the mother so he could have sole control of the children and the property. He forged his wife's signature on refinance documents, evicted her from her home, and told her that her immigrant father would never be able to fight them in court. He was counting on intimidation and prejudice. He was wrong. Richard Morrison stood up again. Your Honor, the condo is solely in my client's name because he committed forgery, Catherine said flatly.
Which we'll be proving in civil court next month. But for today, we're asking for temporary emergency custody to remain with the mother, and for Mr. Morrison to have supervised visitation only until the fraud case is resolved. The judge looked at Derek. Mr. Morrison, when was the last time you saw your children? Derek shifted uncomfortably. 2 weeks ago, but I've been busy with work. You evicted their mother and haven't seen them in 2 weeks.
I've called. She won't answer.
Because you told her she had no rights and stole her home, Catherine said. Why would she answer? Judge Martinez made some notes, then looked up. Emergency custody remains with the mother. Mr. Morrison, you may have supervised visitation 2 hours per week at a location of the mother's choosing. Do not contact Ms. Chen Morrison directly. All communication goes through attorneys. We'll revisit this after the civil case is resolved. She banged her gavel. Next case. Derek's face went purple.
Patricia started to say something, but Richard pulled them both out of the courtroom. As they left, I heard Patricia hiss. This isn't over. We'll appeal. But Catherine was already guiding us out the other exit, a satisfied smile on her face. Phase 1 complete, she said. Now we go after the condo. The civil case took longer to prepare. Catherine warned us it would be brutal. Derek had hired a more expensive lawyer now, someone from downtown who specialized in real estate disputes. But we had something they didn't: the truth and documentation. I spent weeks helping Catherine organize everything. Every bank statement, every email, every text message. I even found the original real estate listing for the condo, where Derek had forwarded it to Lisa with the message, "What do you think? Your dad said he'd help with the down payment." Your dad said he'd help. More proof that Derek knew exactly where the money came from.
But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Catherine had hired a forensic document examiner to analyze the refinance paperwork. It took 3 weeks and cost $5,000 of my savings, but when the report came back, Catherine called us immediately. The signature is forged, she said, barely containing her excitement. Not even a good forgery. Derek must have practiced Lisa's signature a few times and thought it was good enough. But under magnification, the pressure points are wrong, the letter formations are inconsistent, and several of the loops don't match Lisa's natural writing pattern at all. So we can prove it? Lisa asked. We were in Catherine's office, the twins in a playpen in the corner. Emma was babbling happily, but Noah was wheezing again despite his inhaler. We can prove it. But there's more. Catherine pulled out another document. I subpoenaed Derek's phone records.
Guess who he called the day before the refinance went through? His mother? I guessed. His mother. 47-minute call. Then, 2 hours after the refinance was complete, he called her again. 22 minutes. Then he sent a text message to someone named Brad. Catherine read from her notes. It's done. The condo is in my name only. When the old Chinese guy dies, no one can touch it. Lisa thinks she still has rights, but her signature isn't even on the new deed. Her dad was stupid enough to trust me. The words hit me like a physical blow. Lisa made a small sound, and Catherine reached across the desk to squeeze her hand. I'm sorry, Catherine said. I know that's hard to hear.
But this text message wins the case, Lisa. This is Derek admitting, in writing, that he defrauded both you and your father. He's done. The trial date was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, Lisa had gone back to work part-time, and I had become a full-time grandfather.
I learned how to change diapers one-handed while holding a bottle in the other. I learned which lullaby put Noah to sleep fastest. I learned that Emma loved it when I made silly faces, and that both twins calmed down when I sang old Chinese songs my wife used to sing to Lisa. Derek came for his supervised visitations, but he was clearly going through the motions. He held the babies awkwardly, checking his phone every few minutes. He never asked about their schedules, their doctor appointments, their milestones. The court-appointed supervisor made notes. Patricia came to one visitation and tried to take photos. "For social media," she said. "My friends want to see my grandchildren." The supervisor told her to put her phone away. Patricia complained loudly about her rights as a grandmother. The supervisor made more notes. Then, 2 weeks before the trial, Derek's expensive lawyer called Catherine. They wanted to settle. "Absolutely not," Lisa said immediately.
We were in my apartment, the twins asleep, reviewing the settlement offer. Derek would keep the condo but pay Lisa $50,000 and give her full custody.
"He stole from us. He forged my signature. He doesn't get to keep the condo."
"That's what I told them," Catherine said. "But I wanted you to see the offer so you'd know how scared they are. They wouldn't be trying to settle if they weren't terrified of going to trial."
Why are they scared? I asked. They have money for lawyers. Don't they think they can win?
"Robert, no jury is going to side with a man who stole $150,000 from his elderly father-in-law and then sent a text bragging about it. Derek's lawyer knows that. Patricia probably hasn't accepted it yet, but she will." Catherine was right. The trial lasted 3 days. The courtroom was packed. Word had gotten around about the case, and apparently courthouse reporters love a good financial fraud story. Derek's lawyer tried every angle. He claimed the $150,000 was a gift.
Catherine produced Derek's email, calling it a loan. He claimed Lisa had known about the refinance.
Catherine produced phone records showing Lisa had been at work during the appointment, never signed anything, and never received any of the refinance documents. He claimed the signature analysis was faulty. Catherine brought in the forensic expert, who spent an hour explaining exactly how he knew the signature was forged. Then Catherine played her trump card. She requested Derek take the stand. Derek's lawyer tried to object, but the judge allowed it. Derek swore to tell the truth and sat down, looking confident. Catherine started gentle. "Mr. Morrison, who paid the down payment for the condo at 2847 Bellevue Avenue?" "My father-in-law helped with it." "Helped? Or paid for it entirely?" "He paid for it." "How much?" $150,000. "And did you ever pay him back?" "We were planning to, once my real estate commissions improved." "So it was a loan?" Derek hesitated.
It was complicated. "Is that why you wrote in an email to Lisa's father, 'Thanks for the loan, we'll pay you back'?"
I don't remember that.
Catherine showed him the email. "Is this your email address?"
Yes.
"Is this your signature at the bottom?"
Yes.
"So you did call it a loan?"
Fine. Yes, it was a loan.
"A loan that you never paid back before refinancing the property without your wife's knowledge or consent?"
I was trying to get better interest rates.
"Without telling your wife? Without having her sign the paperwork?"
She was busy with the twins.
"So you forged her signature?" "I didn't, Mr. Morrison. We have a forensic analysis proving the signature on the refinance documents doesn't match your wife's actual signature." We have phone records showing she wasn't present when the documents were signed. We have your text message to Brad saying, and I quote, "Lisa thinks she still has rights, but her signature isn't even on the new deed."
Derek's face drained of color. In the gallery, I saw Patricia whispering furiously to Derek's lawyer. Catherine pulled out her phone. "Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to play a recording." "What recording?" Derek's lawyer jumped up. "This wasn't in discovery!" "We obtained it yesterday from a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera. The device captured audio from the Morrison property. It's time-stamped for the night Mr. Morrison evicted Ms. Chen Morrison." The judge nodded. "Play it." The audio was scratchy but clear. Patricia's voice. "Derek, are you sure about this? Kicking her out with the babies?" Derek's voice. "Mom, she's unfit. The anxiety makes her dangerous. We'll get full custody, I'll have the condo, and when the old Chinese guy dies, no one can touch any of it. He barely speaks English. He's not going to sue us." Patricia's laugh. "Your father-in-law thought he was securing his daughter's future. All he did was buy you a condo."
These immigrants are so trusting.
The courtroom went silent. I sat there, listening to them laugh about stealing from me, about betting I'd be too ignorant or too scared to fight back. The judge's expression was ice. "Counselor, do you have anything else?" Catherine looked at Derek, who'd gone completely pale. "No, Your Honor. I think that speaks for itself." The jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they came back, the forewoman read the verdict. Fraud, guilty. Forgery, guilty. Financial elder abuse, guilty. The judge set sentencing for a month later, but she made preliminary orders immediately. The condo was to be transferred back to Lisa's name. Derek was to pay $30,000 in back rent for the 2 months Lisa had been evicted. He was to pay all legal fees. Patricia was named as a co-conspirator and would face separate charges. Derek tried to say something, but his lawyer pulled him out of the courtroom.
Patricia followed, no longer confident, her designer purse clutched to her chest. In the hallway, Catherine shook my hand.
"Robert, I've been practicing law for 10 years. This is the most satisfying case I've ever won." Lisa was crying again, but this time it was relief, pure and simple. "Thank you," she kept saying. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." The epilogue came in pieces over the next year. Derek's real estate license was suspended, pending an investigation into other questionable transactions. Turned out he'd been cutting corners for years, and once one client heard about the trial, others came forward. His uncle's law firm quietly asked him to leave. Patricia faced fraud charges and eventually agreed to a plea deal: community service, restitution, and a permanent restraining order keeping her away from Lisa and the twins. Her social circle evaporated. I heard from Mrs. Kim that Patricia had to sell her house and move to a smaller condo in a different neighborhood.
Lisa moved back into the condo on Bellevue Avenue. I helped her paint the twins' room, yellow walls with white clouds on the ceiling. She went back to nursing full-time, her anxiety under control now that she wasn't being gaslit and abused. I stayed in my apartment, but I visited 3 times a week. More when Noah's asthma acted up or Emma was teething. Grandpa duties, Lisa called it. The best job I ever had. One evening, about a year after I'd found Lisa in that hospital parking lot, we were sitting on her balcony while the twins napped inside. The sun was setting over Seattle, painting the sky orange and pink. "Dad," Lisa said quietly, "I never thanked you properly." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do. You saved us. Not just with the lawsuit, but you never doubted me. When Derek and Patricia were saying I was unfit, when I was sleeping in my car, when I'd lost everything, you never once questioned if I was a good mother." I took her hand.
Lisa, you're an excellent mother.
Derek was wrong. His mother was wrong. They were greedy and cruel, and they thought they could win because they underestimated both of us.
He said you were just an immigrant who barely speaks English.
I've been speaking English for 40 years. I just have an accent. I smiled. Derek confused accent with ignorance. Lots of people do. It's their loss. She laughed, squeezing my hand.
He definitely lost.
Inside, one of the twins started crying. Emma, I could tell, her cry was higher pitched. Lisa started to get up, but I stopped her. I'll get her. You rest. I walked inside, picked up my granddaughter, and held her close. She settled immediately, her tiny hand gripping my finger. Through the window, I could see Lisa on the balcony, finally at peace, in the home I'd bought for her, the home she'd fought to keep. They'd bet I wouldn't fight. They'd bet wrong.